So usually we start off with the week that was, where we recap the last week in the Futureverse. We saw some Buzzies reveal. Is that pretty much all for this week, as where people are coming back from the holiday this week?
We're still got our Secret 3D comp going on, so looking forward to seeing what animations people come up with. Got some awesome prizes in there, so love to see what people make. So I think that's definitely something people should be keeping an eye on. I believe it's running until the end of the month. We might extend depending.
I thought that was into March or February at least.
Yeah, I think it's into February.
Yes.
Yep. So looking forward to that. What else? I gotta look through some tweets and pin some stuff.
I think it's been a relatively quiet week, as can be expected, given that the team members deserved a nice festive period where they could take some time off. I'm sure you guys have been working very hard.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good time to recharge and kind of regroup, get ready for the next year. So definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I've been in both in my professional career in both work environments where the client is put first and employees have to maybe work 80 hours or 90 hours a week if it's required to get the job done. And I've been in environments that were more focused on putting employees first, and the ones that are focused on putting employees first above I guess customers or clients are the better companies. So I think if people, can take a step back and realize that those companies have a better time at acquiring top talent, retaining top talent, and keeping top talent happy, I think we should be more understanding of that and happy to be patiently waiting so that the company culture can be that is not a sweatshop.
Yeah, I think it's important to really focus on, kind of work-life balance and making sure that, everybody's taken care of and has time to, enjoy life, and then, get back after it. So, yeah, I think it's important to really take care of your employees. So, yeah, I think Futureverse does a great job of that.
Yep, and if that means ignoring people that say when too often, I'm all for that. But of course, not everyone will be. But that's my wish, is that people that are not employees of Futureverse would be more understanding of those that are, and give them the opportunity to work in an environment that isn't a sweatshop type of mentality. So that was the week that was, not very much happening, and now we should hear from our guest about the subject that we wanted to focus on today, which is the really cool puzzle that happened over the holiday period. So, Captain KBD, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for Futureverse, and how you got involved in all of this?
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you, Max. Big time listener, first time speaker. I've been involved with the ecosystem since the Party Bear Mint. I missed the FLUF Mint due to a severe back injury 2 years ago now. Is that right? Yeah. I forget that it's 2023. And so I couldn't really use anything. And then I heard Party Bears was coming up and managed to mint on the public mint, and that was very exciting. And then got wholeheartedly involved and just absorbed in the world quite quickly, because it's a lot of fun. It's probably the community that's kind of changed my life, to be honest. I very quickly found that there were Easter eggs and puzzles hidden, which is literally my favorite thing in the world. So I got to work on that, started solving a bunch. The prawns, we worked together on some pretty epic Seeker puzzles as well. And I started winning things. And then NFL asked me to write some puzzles for them as a result. And I was like, okay, that sounds fantastic. Like solving them so much fun. How much fun would it be writing them? So I was puzzle master, was my official role for most of last year, which is probably the best job title I've ever had, I think. Kind of hard to improve on that one. Which led me to, to lead towards the Grunch puzzle, which is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. It's have like quite of a long form puzzle where everyone has a chance to solve them. And then from there, I am now product manager for Gods and Goblins, which is leaning perfectly into my entire childhood and upbringing, being a gigantic nerd, reading, pretty much every sci-fi book and fantasy book there is known to man. So it's ideal, really. I'm very excited to be a part of this ecosystem and developing something that I love so much. Yeah, but the Grunch puzzle in particular was something I was very, very excited to do, and it was really great to see how many people and how many groups came together to work on it. That was something that warmed my heart.
Awesome. And I guess I'll set a basic agenda, though anyone can come on stage and kind of we could be free flowing and all, but I want to hear about what the process is to set up a puzzle, and for that we should look into the Grunch's I forget the official name. Christmas Cracker, was it?
Christmas Crackers, yeah.
There we go. And additionally, there are other NFT code cracking puzzles that are becoming popular as well. So it's really an exciting space that I think a lot of people are getting into. And I would like to hear more about what goes into making the puzzle, and then if anyone from our audience gave it a try, whether they won or whether they solved part of it but lost the race or gave up or couldn't figure it out, we'd love to hear some community experiences on trying to solve this puzzle, or I guess any other puzzle. And yeah, I kind of want to look into the anatomy of puzzle making and puzzle solving, especially in the NFT space. So
it is one of those things that is quite prevalent, I think. There's a lot of hidden space. I'm pretty sure that's how Bored Ape got popular right at the start, was they had their clubhouse puzzles, which are quite challenging to solve. And when I found out about that, I went and did it, so just for the experience. And the idea of hidden content and excited, things or secret knowledge in a way, is something that is kind of ingrained in a gaming facility, a gaming capacity. And I think that's something that flows over quite well into this space. Whenever you're trying, there's two different ways of thinking. Trying to solve a puzzle and trying to make a puzzle are two different ways of thinking in it, sort of. When you're trying to solve a puzzle, you're trying to understand what it is the puzzle maker is trying to tell you, or the way that they think in terms of how they might create the puzzle. And that's a bit different than creating the puzzle, because when you're making a puzzle, you're trying to make it challenging enough that there's a feeling of satisfaction when you solve it, but not so hard that people sort of give up, which was the whole point with Grunch's one, because some of them were more challenging than others.
I heard from another NFT puzzle maker that their goal was that while you're trying to solve it, it's difficult to solve, but once you figure it out, it's like an aha moment, or oh, I get it.
Yeah, those aha moments are glorious. And quite often, some of the puzzles that I worked on before I got to make them, it was 10, 20. I remember that there was the barcode on the egg, the EGG, the eggs. I taught myself how to read barcodes for that one. I looked, because I was okay, I can't figure this out. I'm going to recreate it. It's not scanning. I have to learn how to read it. And when you actually figure out what kind of barcode it was, that was very much an aha moment. And that was fun. But with these ones, the idea behind the Grunch puzzles in general was just sort of more riddles. And so I wrote them all myself, because I couldn't just Google riddles, because you could just Google them. And then sort of halfway through, ChatGPT got released, and I had to start making them ChatGPT proof, because you could just take the riddle and put it into it and be solve this riddle, and it would tell you. So that was fun from a from a puzzle making perspective, because they then had to go and reword a whole bunch of things to try and basically mislead AI into giving the wrong answer. And that's something that puzzle makers will struggle with in the future because of the advent of AI. But yeah.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, guys, I did the worst thing. Builder just requested to speak, and I kicked him out of the spaces, and he can't get back in now. Those buttons are right next to each other. Oh,
All right, I'm
he's
back.
back.
That worked. That was weird.
Oh, I invited him via DM, so maybe that worked.
Yeah, the DM.
I was like,
DM
I wonder
worked.
how I could maybe
But it was really weird.
go in settings, but yeah, I'm sorry. Those buttons are right next to each other.
I got booted, and then I tried to join back just to join back, and it wouldn't even let me join the spaces. It was saying it was unavailable.
I kicked you. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Loving
so
the way Twitter Spaces is these days.
let's move
So
on.
many surprises every time you go live. Hey guys.
Hello. So, Captain, was the first step like you generated a 24 phrase passcode and then had to like back into the clues?
Yes. Yeah. No, that was because I can't.
What if you got bad 24 words?
I didn't though. I would have just. I'm pretty confident being able to make something up for everything. I had a whole bunch of different puzzles actually that were more word finds, more word crosses, where like you have to solve the words across, and then the connections would make the word. But the feedback I was getting early on is that everyone just loved the riddles, so I just ended up sticking with those.
Did you put all 24 words consecutively, or was it more complicated than that?
No, so there was a second layer to it. So the puzzles themselves, if you saw them, there was the main riddle and the day one, and then the bottom right-hand corner there was a circular figure, which it's basically circular Morse code. So it's a version of Morse code in a circular pattern, which some people figured out quite quickly, and others didn't. And so everyone was unique. And then the very last puzzle was that it was a quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And the final clue is here, and to replace the word to find it, both the answer and the key to it all, the order to my vault to unbind it. And the idea behind that was every puzzle had a unique letter. And if you arrange them in the order of a quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, which is the shortest sentence in the English language to contain every letter, then that would put the words in order.
How did the reality in terms of people or teams solving it match your expectations in terms of like their progress or how long it took them, or I guess if they revealed about like, I saw people in Discord were writing and you were answering about like certain things that they figured out and things that they hadn't.
Yeah, no, that was one of my favorite things, was to actually, because I'm in so many groups across so many things, so it was really beautiful to actually see the solving going live, and like the race at the end between 4 or 5 groups that were really coming down to the wire as to who was going to get the order right and 1 or 2 words that were correct or not, which was quite fun to see. Yeah, it was really cool to see it. I honestly thought people would be a bit quicker on the last one, but it looks like the clue was like slightly ambiguous, so there was some order on that. There was definitely some impressive shout outs to quite a few people that were very close. Close.
And the whole competition lasted longer than, or not longer than a month, but almost a month.
Yeah.
So did you make the whole thing prior to the start, or were you still making parts of it as you went?
I made most of them prior to December, like about half of them prior to December 1st. And then I had the second half ready to go, and then the feedback about the riddles came through, and I made the second half mostly riddles instead of some of the other more tricky. It turns out people hate word finds, which is something that I found quite funny, because I did that on the 3rd day and everyone was like, oh, this is too hard. So I removed those sorts of ones and just made it more inclusive, I felt. And then obviously the AI thing, I had to reword a whole bunch. So shout outs to our production team on being able to turn those changes around pretty quickly.
Awesome.
I would love to hear from people that had a go at it and what they found tricky.
Let's welcome the people from the stage. If you're one of the people from the stage that gave it a good attempt to try to solve the puzzle, let's hear from you first.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the people that I feel like I was maybe 5-10 minutes max away from being able to solve it. And I think he had confirmed we had all the words right, but had the order wrong. 2 words were in the wrong place, and another team finished it before we could, but had an absolute blast. It was really fun. Because it was so long, it really gave like a group of friends something to talk about every single night, and like, okay, cool, new clue dropped, let's go ahead and solve it. And then kind of further evaluating on, okay, what do these symbols mean? I think that's going to be pretty key. So just the layers and depth that the whole competition went in, and then to hear you say, hey, I had some more stuff that is even more complicated that you didn't put in. Yeah, the last day, I mean, we thought we had it all but wrapped up, and the last day definitely threw us for a loop, and there was a few hours of panic and some stress and maybe some strong language used, trying to figure out the last, but we had an absolute blast. And even though we didn't win, it was a very fond memory of my journey in the FLUF. So I appreciate you doing it for us.
Thanks, man. That's really great to hear. It is fun being part of a team trying to solve something. Like I've been previously part of the Prawn Crackers. And I think this is the first time they haven't actually been first out the gate. So I have to say well done to Vitesia and the Disciples for being the first to solve that one. But the prawns were really close. And yeah, Bildo, you were super close as well. It was really, it's just great to see people getting engaged with it. It's really fun.
Yeah, more than anything, it was just a great way to interact with some friends and all work together, and like I said, give us a common goal on a daily basis. While there wasn't a whole lot other happening, but everybody kind of coming together during the holidays, it was a really great experience.
Yeah, and it has a lot of layers to it. It's kind of like an onion, and there's a lot of different levels to how it progressed. So
I think goblins may be more like cabbage, Still layers, but more flatulence. But yeah, I would love to know if there were any in particular that people were stuck with, or if there's anything that anyone enjoyed. I know that the one that seemed to get the most people was Leave Me, Destination, the Grave, which was very much, the answer was Cradle, so Cradle to the Grave. Just sort of the whole point on that one. I did post in the Easter eggs channel, there is the full answer list there as well, and I believe they're both in order and as they were released as well. So any questions, feel free to at me in the Easter eggs channel.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I feel like there was a few of them that even as a consensus, there was a core, probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 of us working together. But there was probably, 7 to 10 that would chime in here and there as well. So there was a couple that we just couldn't come to a consensus, and it was like, we think it could be one of these 2 words. And so, yeah, it was interesting to see how it all played out, and, who was right and who was wrong. And Cradle to the Grave, that one definitely got us. I think we had, I want to say flower maybe to start with on that one. So yeah, it was interesting to see some things that we were totally sure on was like, oh no, I didn't even think about that, and we're completely wrong. And other things that we were a little unsure on, we were spot on. So yeah, just the level of complexity with all of the riddles, all of the clues, then with the circular Morse, and as soon as it clicked that it was Morse, it kind of made a lot more sense. And then with the figuring out it had to deal with the sentence that you posted on the last day, and that was the order that the words went in. There was just so many layers of complexity that, yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you. I actually saw someone get the sentence on the 4th day, and I was like, oh my gosh, how on earth? But they didn't realize that the Morse code was circular at that point, so they didn't connect the dots. But someone was like, I bet this is going to be an order like a quick fox jumps over the lazy dog. I was like, no, not so early. Ah.
Yeah, on day 4, I'm sure that had you worried a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I think it threw everybody for a loop. So
It's also like I tried to make sure it wasn't brute forceable because people got to, 22, 23 words and they were going to try brute force it. And I was like, it's going to take you about 1 trillion years to do that.
there was definitely some discussion about some brute force, but and like at what point could you start to make that a reality? But again, then seeing the last day, it's just like, oh yeah, this is completely different than anything that we could have expected. So definitely did a good job safeguarding and creating a fair environment to really give everybody a fair fight, even down to the last clue when you announced it.
I was also really happy to see a group won it as well, not an individual. So it was really neat to see that group divvy up the prizes and and fairly as well from everyone that contributed. So that was really cool.
Did any individuals get close? Because the way we were following it along, it was all really groups of people, which I thought was one of the best parts of the whole thing. It was mostly people coming together to try and solve it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was hoping for, and I was really close. I think in terms of the people in Easter eggs that posted their answers, I think it was Crypto Toad was the closest on an individual basis. I think they were like one or two off total. So I think that was the closest individual effort that I saw. So yeah, well done, Crypto Toad.
Yeah, nice. Bildo, did you find any people that you were following along or that were engaged with the puzzle were new, like came in because of the puzzle rather than existing kind of members of the community or holders amongst the community? Did people come in who were just interested in cracking this or solving this puzzle, and that's how they came into Web3 and learned about all this crazy stuff?
Not that I saw, but it definitely spanned across a lot of the different ecos, and saw it getting talked about in Crypto Walkers, saw it getting talked about in FLUF, and a lot of different of the ecosystems. And then again, it was just, if anything, I felt like it just brought a group of people or groups of people together. And if they were in a guild in Crypto Walkers, and they were working on it with that guild. If they had a race club in Atom, then they were working as a club. Believins with his Vitesia stuff, they were working on it as like a project. So I feel like if anything, it just brought groups a little bit closer together because of the camaraderie of trying to work and solve on a problem together.
Sounds like might need some more. Might need the return of crunch at some point.
Yeah. Is that a little bit of alpha, Carl?
I mean, Grunch isn't dead, so
Grunch is not dead. No,
got to be up to something.
I mean, he's just as most goblins are, in my opinion, they're just misunderstood. He stole all that stuff at the start, but he gave it back fairly, with respect.
Yeah, you got to respect that.
I was looking through our Discord DMs, Captain, and back in May, we originally had talked with each other about a project that ended up launching quite a while later, which is called Applied Primate, which is based around Yuga Labs. I'm not sure exactly who. I don't think it's actually connected to Yuga Labs as much as it uses the IP from Yuga Labs, but it's another popular venture into Web3 puzzles. So
yeah, I think it is Yuga, because they did their Applied Primate actually started for, I can't remember what real life event it was. Maybe
it was NFT NYC.
NFT NYC, yeah, that's it. They did an IRL treasure hunt as a basis for that. So if you solved the Applied Primate puzzles on their website, then you got to go through and do an IRL experience as a result, and it was aimed at holders of apes. Some of their puzzles were pretty good. I enjoyed. I when I had time to do that, I enjoyed solving puzzles on the side. Right now, I don't have a lot of spare time, but yeah. I think I think it's a good fun space. It's a way for people to be involved before we move into the full utility and the full actual games are developed and people can do things properly.
From what I understand, they have a puzzle tomorrow, which I will try my hand in. So
feel free to DM me. I'm not forbidden from participating in those ones.
ooh, I'm down. I don't know. I need to look into the details, but I think it is pretty cool that two of the top ecosystems are getting very involved in this genre. Yeah, as you said, it's a very cool thing to do that is doable and is fun and exciting without needing thousands or tens of thousands of man hours to create, you know, like a computer type game, or, you know, like a AAA video game.
Yeah, you can create very engaging content, I would say relatively with ease, but like they still take a long time to make and check. And also, like with when there's, you know, such large prizes at stake, it's very hard to get people to check your work, because ideally you only really want one person knowing the actual final solution, because it's that way it stops anything getting out, you know. So yeah, if there's enough puzzle to monitor, that's exciting. Tell you what though, who started all the puzzles in the ecosystem the level of puzzles that I personally love is the Seekers. Core and those guys created just some next level puzzles. If you haven't had a go at that yet, by the way, you can go to the Seekers website, and there's various bits of code there hidden, and that'll start you on the journey, which completes with the Ultra Beacon. I don't want to say all the solves in case people haven't done it yet and they just want to give it a go, but it is a very engaging, very challenging code-based puzzle. Series of puzzles, rather.
Yeah, it felt like this was almost like a Web3 experience of like an escape room, or like a Discord version of it, to where you're interacting with more Web3 friends, but almost having to like solve clues like you would in an escape room with like a group of people to try and find the solution. So yeah, I had a blast with it.
By the way, talk about escape room. Wouldn't that be like a fun kind of relatively, you know, manageable task for a team to create like a virtual reality escape room as part of Web3? I don't know. That could be fun.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome to have like clues like that set up, and you could enter into, you know, a burrow or, you know, a piece of land, and have a series of tasks or clues that you would have to solve to be able to get out. It would be awesome.
That does sound fun, doesn't it?
The one thing that's like an advantage over an escape room over like Web3 puzzles is like you're literally there with the people that you're there with, and you don't have, and that's it. And you're like in the moment, versus in a Web3 puzzle game, like you should be focused, but maybe you're, you know, not 100% focused, and you can add teammates, so you're not necessarily with the same group and like stuck in a situation together. So I think there's a little bit of, you know, steps that can be taken to make the Web3 version closer to the escape room experience.
Well, to make it like closer to an escape room experience, would be a time limited thing where you have a group of people and you enter, and then you get a set time, kind of like doing a Kahoot. You know how you have Kahoot quizzes and you can run them at any time, but they last for a certain period of time, and you have to do it while you're there. And if you exit and go back in, you start from the start again. So there's ways and means around it, especially with token gating as well. You can say that, you know, you get to enter this once, and if you don't solve it during that time, then, you know, you have to wait X amount of time before you can go back in again. So the Web3 is very, very good for that sort of stuff in regards to, you know, blockchain token gating.
We've had Gias for Goose on the stage, but I failed to realize. So welcome to the stage.
Hey, initially I was kind of spamming Twitter to try and get into the chat, so it was kind of a mistake that I'm up here. But you kind of answered it already, Kat. But I was really keen to talk about the Seekers challenge, and particularly find out what the last bit of it meant, because I was kind of on the sidelines for it, and just sort of I when there was that bronze channel, I I followed along as people were kind of getting help, and it was a really interesting experience. And then, if I remember correctly, it ended up with people posting like a unique code to there. And you just said you wanted to kind of keep it open in case people want to do it, but I don't know if it spoils the game. But could you maybe talk a little bit more about that, if you can, if you feel like you want to?
Yeah, I think I can. I'll try and talk about it without saying how we actually solved it. Well, the final solve was, the clue to the final solve was actually in the Ultra Beacon. But in order for it to work, you had to solve the first puzzle. So the first puzzles that start on the Seeker's website lead you to a location where you can download a file pack, which is password protected. And then you have to work out the password, which is through other stuff that's also on the website. And it's quite challenging to do that. And then inside that zip, once you unlocked it, there's another set of files that's also password gated, and you don't get to open that yet. So how it works is there's a particular type of cipher that requires a password to unlock it. And the key to the password is in the Ultra Beacon, both in the code that's on the disk and another part of it that moves around, if that helps, which was a nightmare to write down.
So yeah, I remember that. I remember those two parts and people kind of slowly figuring it out. So what was the code that people ended up with once they had those two pieces of the puzzle? Like, what was the relevance of it? Is that something you can give away?
The code gives you a role in the Discord to recognize that you have performed the feat of solving the puzzle.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome.
Whether you do that as a group or whether you do that as as an individual, it's definitely worth it. It just shows that you've gone the extra step. And it actually, because when prawns were first started, we were this little group and just friends, but actually it ended up, the Seekers puzzles led to us expanding the prawns and getting a whole bunch of people in, because a girl who was in, shout outs to a girl, they were one of the first to sort of go through that process of solving it and coming on board. There was Kinkaba, who managed to solve the puzzle whilst translating everything into Japanese, which was quite impressive. So there's a lot of people that have gone through the steps of doing it. As a group, I definitely wouldn't have been able to get to where I am without the talents of Richie Rich and a Secret Cutie.
I just want to say as well, really feeling for Secret Cutie over the recent hack that they lost a whole bunch of assets. So that was really not cool. So really feeling for them at the moment.
Yeah, sorry for them. A few of us have helped them get back on his feet, but it's always a good lesson. Every time it happens, there's always attack vectors. You got to be on your toes.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll have a security themed episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. But I think time to talk about the next subject that you're involved with, which is Gods and Goblins. How excited are you for Gods and Goblins, and what team is everybody on? Team Seekers or Team Goblins?
Team Goblins, obviously. I am like a 12 out of 10 because I, as I said, huge fantasy sci-fi nerd growing up. So to get to work on a Gods and Goblins based project is the literal dream for me. But yeah, the Goblins are closer than you think. We had it was pretty fun last year, like seeing all the community content that people generated, like that beautiful song that started us off with dedicated followers of Harlan. There was that amazing vehicle, or several vehicles that were created by the community as well. So it was really good to see people getting into their goblin. And yeah, we are getting closer to the first interaction with that world, which is the pledge and the sacrifice. So people will need to pick their side. I'm definitely choosing goblin.
Did you want to say a couple words on behalf of Team Seekers?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to let the goblins get the best of us. They can't take us all, and loyalty will be rewarded, so don't think that sacrificing is the only option.
Oh, but it is.
Fight.
The War of the Words begins. No, so obviously, the Queen, thanks to her partnership with the Dark Seeker, who turned his back on his robotic little friends and has come to our aid. He's helped us to call the Seekers to us, and we're just asking those of you out there that that love goblins to turn your beacons off. Turn away from the light and let those little Seekers drift on over into our camp, so that we can delicately pull them apart with big hammers and stuff, and so that we can complete the portal and actually get the rest of the goblin horde here. That's the point. So that is coming up soon. You get to pledge your Seekers. There will be a reward for that. There will be 3 rewards, actually, 3 levels of rewards: a bronze, silver, and a gold, depending on how much you pledge. And of course, if the Queen determines that your sacrifice is worthy. So you can pledge, but you might not get the chance to sacrifice. It's all up to the Queen. But yes, that is details and information on that will be out this month.
Wait,
on
Somnia,
Alex.
if they're giving out prizes for sacrificing, are the Seekers giving out prizes for not?
Your loyalty will be rewarded. I'll leave it at that.
All right, let's hear from the 2 new people on the stage. First, let's hear from Marklar.
No, I just got caught up in the new message from Twitter saying, accept if you want to be heard publicly. And I did. I didn't realize that jumped me into speaker roles.
Well, it's too late now.
Too late. Well, I literally just joined, so...
Okay, well, here's the question. Are you Team Seekers or Team Goblin?
Bloody hell. Which wallet? Probably Team Seekers. I don't know. I think I'm Team Seekers.
Are your wallets going to go to war?
They very well could. They're already fighting themselves anyways, so...
I think there's medication for that. I'm not sure.
Natural next step. Seekers. Final answer.
We'd love to hear that, Marklar. We'd love to hear that.
The Queen is displeased with your actions.
You're dead to Captain now.
Yeah, well, the Queen can get effed.
What about you, Rio? Are you Team Seekers or Team Goblins?
Oh, Rio.
Is everyone pressing this new button? Did Elon Musk rug us?
Mine one just says on or off. But
no, it literally said do you accept if you want to speak? So it's not clear that it automatically makes you a speaker. They got to work on it.
Sam, did you press accept for these people?
I did not actually.
That's weird.
I can put it on Australian
accent. Oh,
accent
wait, hang on. You know what I did? I hit settings when I was trying to let Buildo back in, and I hit people you follow on who can speak.
Oh, I snuck in the back door.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
all right.
That's
I changed it back. Sorry. That's a weird setting.
It's always fun. Every time you go live, it's a new thing to figure out.
Yeah, maybe they'll figure out this app someday, and I'll be able to change my PFP. Because I've kind of accepted this dark hole of, it's a
pretty light hole.
It's a blank hole.
You're all about encouraging people to come to the light, brother.
Yeah.
So, that's the PFP for your journey.
Exactly.
It's like this glaring white hole in my beautiful dark template for Twitter,
Exactly. Here to burn your eyes.
It actually has.
I'm here to burn your Seekers.
It has a Futureverse logo in it. It's just the background is the same white shade as the F. Oh,
could you turn your PFP
Let's
down?
hear from Kaz.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Team Seekers or Team Goblins?
We're debating between Seekers and Goblins, but how come we've never asked where did the gods come from? Is there some sort of Greek mythology type of stuff coming? down the
Aren't
road.
there 7 goblin gods, or am I getting that wrong, Captain?
There are 7 goblin gods to be discovered.
Ah, okay.
That's all
Do
I
they
can
have
say for
names?
now.
To be
it's-
discovered, says
it's like-
Puzzle Master. Interesting.
Wait,
Are
doesn't
you
the
telling me somebody's gonna get Varlin?
Is grunge one of them?
Are the goblins like related to elves or something? Like on some Lord of the Rings
I don't.
type of thing?
Goblins are very much their own unique creation. Every goblin is special. But yes, they have their own morphology, their own customs and society, all of which will be discovered by both the community and, told as we come along.
We have seen minor sneak peeks of like a really large goblin, a normal sized goblin, and a smaller one, and that was 3 different types that we got to see in the as like sneak peeks from Cerno, but that's as much as we got shown.
That's a good starting point. At the moment, I'm here to talk about the pledge and the sacrifice, who wants to be the favored and the chosen of the queen. But in terms of the horde, returning the horde through the portal, once we've got our seeker bits and we've bashed them into shape, then that portal will be able to be opened and we will be able to bring the horde through.
That's a pretty compelling reason to sacrifice, right? I think you guys have got an unfair advantage. I think there's pressure on the Seekers to come up with a reason to stop the portal from being opened. So I think just about everybody in this room wants to see that portal open.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing goblins.
What?
Sorry.
What
Sam.
if the portal opens and the goblins eat your bunny?
That's what I'm saying, man. They might not just want your seekers. Might want everything.
Goblins
you
are
got.
misunderstood, mate. Goblins are misunderstood. It's only Grunch that breaks into the vault because he's a nasty little... Can't say that word.
Matt, are you saying that there's going to be other forces that smash down the value of my wallet this year?
Oh, I don't claim to know anything.
Well, speaking of this, so what kind of seekers can we expect to even be able to pledge?
So, a little bit of alpha, I
Or
guess.
not.
Or not. No, I'll tell you. It's important, the Queen needs to get the message out there nice and early. So, the seekers that we will be accepting are those that will be on a void background because they haven't yet made their way to a destination. Those that are on a void background are still out there in the ether on their way to their beacon, to their owner, to a destination, and they can still be called. We can't call ones that are already at a destination, some of those beautiful locations that came with the seekers when they first arrived. But we can, however, appeal to those that are stuck in the void at the moment. So that is what we will be accepting for sacrifice, or for pledging, rather.
Incoming void sweep.
I would be curious to know that we've heard that there are 7 different. I guess I'm not sure what the word is, but like, is it breeds of goblin or groups of goblin? We know about the Tinker group, but not about the other faction.
That's right.
But we
The
don't know
factions.
about the other sex. Is that something we can expect to learn about leading up to the
Yes.
sacrifice?
Not before the sacrifice, no. Once the whole focus of the Goblin Empire at the moment, the Tinkers are trying to restore the portal so we can call the Horde back through and have people, understand the factions and the opportunities that they have ahead of them. So the factions will be, they're pretty cool. I'm very excited about that. Our creative team is
Well,
probably the
we
best,
already
but-
know 3 of them. If there's Tinker, then there also's got to be Tailor, Soldier, and Spy.
Very clever.
I have a question. I think my mind is blanked, but do we know how the goblins got to the Third Kingdom in the first place?
You will. I will have to check the law on what's been released already, if that story has been shared. But I believe that there was the beautiful soliloquy, is that the right word, by Valen that was released last year, that explains how they got into the hellhole that they call the Third Kingdom.
And that's why they're building the portal. They use seekers as a means to an end. They're not necessarily bad, they're just misunderstood, right?
Exactly. We had a portal, it got blown up, and we're trying to restore it. You know, we're just trying to get back to our friends and family. That's all.
Hey, for the sacrifice and the decision that the Goblin Queen makes about whether to accept someone's sacrifice or not, could you tell us at this point whether that's going to be like a human decision, or is it something that's on chain?
That will be not. We will not be selecting wallets. It will be chosen by randomness to make it fair.
Cool.
As I said, there's 3 levels of amulets, so it's up to the community to decide which level they want to pledge for, to apply for. Details on how that will work will be coming out. I don't want to say the word soon because it's not really a word I like, but this month. And then the decision making can begin. Team Seeker or Team Goblin. I mean, I know which choice is the wisest one.
Well, you said Seeker first, so
Just being nice,
Does anyone have a count of how many Void Seekers there are? I used to know, but I can't remember the number.
It's around 26,000.
Like 26,000.
I'll double check.
That's a nice little duet from everyone there.
Jinx, guys. You owe me a Seeker with a Void background.
So let's
I think it's 25,861.
25, yeah, 861.
Well, yeah, let's hope that sacrifice is kind of huge, because as a Seeker maxi, I want some of the Seekers to become a little rarer.
I kind of personally feel like the Seeker supply, if the Silo protocol achieves any bit of the type of success that they're attempting to, then if the amount of nodes is locked at let's say it's 48,000, or let's say it's the full amount that there currently are, because you will require a Seeker to run a node. So there's currently 47,892 Seekers, and to the extent that we achieve any type of mass adoption, that's still not a lot of nodes. If that type of mass adoption is achieved, if there are hundreds of thousands or millions of people using this protocol. So I kind of am less concerned about the supply, but I definitely can hear that a lot of people would like a burn event, because the supply for the current situation where you don't need where Silo isn't this product that has achieved mass market of any type, or we're not even at a state that it's required that you need to have a Seeker to run a node, and the protocol isn't really in significant use. So as of right now, I can understand that sentiment, and even a year from now, I can understand that sentiment. But if they achieve what they're trying to achieve, I think the amount of nodes that are currently possible is still pretty small. That's just a personal take. Let's hear from our new stage people that joined the stage, Mo Meta Music, and then Jasher.
Yeah, guys, I'm just up here because this is a great conversation. I mean, this is the type of alpha we're always looking for, and it's great we can start getting some of it. Now, I'm curious about the event. Was it the big crash? So I'm guessing the goblins have come through the portal. They've found themselves in the Third Kingdom, which is a place they despise, but there's a reason they need to be there. They're getting mining or they're doing something. Then there was an event called the Big Crash, where the other factions got dragged kicking and screaming back into the abyss, and their portal was destroyed. Darkseeker goes over. They decide they're going to try and convince the Fluffs to turn their beacons off, and they're going to use these Seekers from the Void to rebuild this portal. So obviously when the portal gets rebuilt, we can get all of the other factions back through it, I guess, and the game kicks on. I still don't know what the big crash is. And another curious one, are these Tinkers going to be able to build other things that could possibly replicate nodes in the future? I mean, there's so much going on here. I just want to be part of this conversation. This is a good one.
That was a fantastic summary, Mo. I really enjoyed that. When we get the recording of this, I kind of want to cut that snippet out so I can replay it. It was perfect. Nice little summary.
That's why they pay that man the big bucks.
No one pays me anything. Actually, I'd be happy just to get a T-shirt, to be honest. But actually, what I will do after the show is I'll take that 2-minute clip regarding the goblins and just their lore and their background, and I'll do a Twitter post on it, and I'll throw that out there because it needs to be out in the ether. So I'll do that post. But no, I'm really fascinated about this one because this is a part of the ecosystem that was just coming to light when I really joined it. So looking forward, this is really important to me because this is part of the game that I'm at the very beginning of, and I can't wait to play.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, exactly. This is the very beginning of this part of the game. Although some of you have been playing it for a while. I'm very excited for the activities this year in particular. It's Year of the Rabbit, but to me it's Year of the Goblin,
Let's hear from Jasher. Jasher Dan. Okay.
It can only
hello,
be
hello?
the Year of the Rabbit.
Can you guys hear me?
Captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sure. What's up? How's everyone?
Good, thanks, mate.
Living the
Happy New Year.
Hey, Jasher. Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, you too, bro. You too. Hey, I just
Did you
going
check
off
your email?
Yeah, I did. I checked my emails.
Check your email, dude.
Okay, I did. I checked my email yesterday.
Check it today, man.
Going off what Mo was saying, I actually was wondering, obviously this is all good if it can't be shared, but there was a snarling beast that sort of destroyed the portal, I'm pretty sure, from Valen's monologue. And I was wondering if we would be able to know anything about that snarling beast, where it's from or what it is or anything. If not, that's all good, but
I believe
Is that related to the wreck?
I believe
Yes.
that's a metaphor. If you listen to it and read it back, it's a metaphor.
Oh. Okay, sweet. My other thought was I've been working on the goblin code, the language thing, and we were thinking, is it that goblins actually need help from the fluffs to fix the portal?
No, we're quite sorted on our own. We just need those seeker parts.
Okay.
Little rabbits can just chill on their own. Stop sneaking into our camp.
We're also thinking if they know how to use mycelium better than fluffs, maybe I am team goblins.
See, that's the thing. We see it as a resource where the fluffs are just sitting there and they're not using it.
So we need
Goblins
to utilize it.
They're not using it. So why don't we just use that?
The fluff hoarders. Get your greasy goblin hands off that mycelium.
Your hands are greasy, Captain.
No. I keep them nice and clean.
Especially after ripping seekers apart.
Yeah, well, they were covered in seeker oil, which is actually just goblin for moisturizer. So.
Oh, that's lovely for you. So much moisturizer.
I love how much of the lore is being written in this very space.
That's all I had to say anyway. Thanks for having me out, fam.
No worries, cheers. You actually did bring up a very good point that there is the Valen's camp puzzle that is still active. I believe No Credits was the first person to find the link to that. No Credits Left, shout out to him. In the video, the Easter egg that was in the sky. And since then, there's been three transmissions, and then one currently, a note from Valen that no one's deciphered yet.
Well, we're trying, but she's pretty tough.
Yeah, the Goblin language is they write things as they see them. Let's say that. There's a couple of conversations between Confucius and Okram, also known as the legendary Marco, on Twitter that have some clues in it. But so far, no one's cracked that one.
Interesting. Is there any other clues?
I mean, I just told you where to find them.
Ooh.
Who is this Confucius that you speak of?
An hour into the show, we got some clues to listen back to for anyone that wants to give it a shot.
Yeah, who's Confucius? I just don't know who that is.
I'm confused-ish.
I'll get him to tweet.
I'd love to hear if anybody who's not in the ecosystem is listening in their spaces, because they are fucking very confused.
Confucius is a fluff who just happens to love puzzles and codes, and he's active on Twitter if you find him.
Love it. Love that fluff.
Does anyone have any more topics related to, I guess, gods and goblins, but anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I also need to shoot soon, sorry, team, because
yeah, of course.
The queen is cracking the whip, and I don't really want any more marks on my back.
I've got one that might relate. I'm just interested if there's ties through Project Tempest, and then I think also through Hume and Angel Baby, we've seen kind of evidence of destroyed worlds and cities, and I think it references the wreck or some kind of event. Is there confluence between what those projects are talking about and the wreck that concerns the goblins?
All that I can see at the moment, unfortunately, is our partially built portal from our camp. So I can't tell you about anything else outside of that. I just know that we're nearly there. Just need a few of those little arms, freshly ripped off Seekers to finish it up.
Well, want to give a big shout out to Captain KBD for joining us for our show today and for all the work he did in putting together the puzzles. It was very well done and well received, so big thank you and appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Max and Som. It's been a pleasure. Som, don't be too salty about people sacrificing Seekers because you'll rust.
Well, hey, much love. No matter which way you guys go,
just
appreciate
go to Goblin. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
See you, Captain.
I don't want to rust, guys. I really don't. I actually keep my Seekers polished, so a little WD-40 goes a long way. Make sure to keep no rust around these parts, Right, Tybo?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I guess that one didn't hit. My bad, guys.
The effort is what counts.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Can you hear me?
You didn't miss much, Tybo.
We can hear you.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
It's okay. I said that I keep my Seekers polished. A little WD-40, no rust, What about you?
I don't really take care of mine. I'm ready to sacrifice them.
Yeah, that's gonna be a sad outcome for you. We'll see where you end up.
Oh, I've seen the first hate emojis come up in the spaces so far, Tybo, creating controversy, man.
I'm not going to sacrifice them all, but I'm definitely getting rid of a bunch.
I wonder if the Dark Seeker is going to get sacrificed. Surely that would be rewarded heavily.
Is that even a thing? Can that be done?
It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not on a void background, so I would assume no.
Captain announced earlier that it's been confirmed that a void seeker with the void background are the only ones that can be sacrificed.
The Dark Seeker scares me anyway.
Yeah, he's a bad man. Or woman. Thing. It.
I think Max.
Hey, question.
Yep. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, there was heaps of speculation for ages about whether other things from the ecosystem are going to be able to be sacrificed. Was that talked about earlier in the spaces or nah? Like FLUFs or party bears?
Oh, it's just void seekers.
Yeah, I thought so. So there's heaps of speculation about whether, like back in the day, like 4 months ago, that you were going to be able to like sacrifice FLUFs and party bears and other stuff, but just void seekers, eh?
Insert comment about if anyone wants to sacrifice anything else, you can send to my wallet. Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. I'll post the burn address. Just kidding. Absolutely,
I
we'll
reckon
never
you
do
need
that.
more FLUFs, sir.
We'll never DM you. First.
Yes. No, there will not be any sacrifices.
Hard to say that I'll never DM anybody, but first, surely not.
It seems to be that we learned that the only things that will be sacrificed, at least in the beginning and probably throughout, are seekers in a void background.
Love it.
Mark Clark.
And just to confirm,
Go ahead.
just to confirm as well, he said you can pick your 3 levels that you want to apply to be sacrificed, right? Something like that. But you still may not be
We
chosen.
might have to listen back to
Right.
the recording.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I think that had to do with maybe the amount that you were sacrificing. Not like I'm going to sacrifice this one and hope to get a gold, but I think it would be like you need to sacrifice at least X amount to get or to go after a certain level is what I would assume.
I thought it might have been like a rarer one, like void backgrounds with good backpacks and rare paint might get a gold, or apply for golds and more likely to get it.
Well, time will
I
tell.
reckon it's
We
multiple.
do not know the specifics on this.
Yeah, right. But I want to know though.
Well, yeah. No.
I want to know. No, I want to know.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think probably best to wait on them to formally inform us. That way we got all the details. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be a big one.
Marklar, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, just to your point earlier about supply. Excuse me. I think I remember when the Secret Adventure began that these were referred to as Genesis, and there was some sort of suggestion that they fully expect at scale supply to increase over time. So was it covered? I guess it feels like the Seeker burn is going to be potentially a test of the asset bridge over to root and maybe turning on incentivized nodes with those void seekers. Do we know, when the goblins come through the portal, are they coming through on root, or is that going to be an ETH mint? Was that covered?
It wasn't covered, but I think based on the progression of where root is and the progression of where goblins are, I would expect it to be a root event. I don't think it makes any sense at this point in time to have it be an Ethereum event. They'll just keep delaying it until it could be a root event, in my opinion. They've already delayed it quite a bit. So I would assume that's one of the reasons why it's delayed. And for sure at this point, having already delayed it for a bit, it would seem silly to launch it on Ethereum when Root Network is going to have NFTs and has already had test NFTs on it already.
It's almost like an interesting natural divide where you've got the goblins on Root and they have their seekers over there, and you've got FLUF sitting on ETH as sort of antagonist, protagonist. You know, I long wonder, and I'm personally like really nervous about bridges, if the other assets are just going to be stayed Oracle or how that's going to be handled. So I'm really excited for January to see how, you know, some of this stuff comes into play.
Yeah, well, I would think the first test is going to be the next Legends NFTs, I believe. But yeah, I would assume we're going to continue to work ourselves up with more tests and getting the community more involved in, you know, starting the network. It's kind of different than a lot of layer one networks start, and some of the like other layer one networks that start kind of, we can look at something like Sui, which hasn't gone live yet, or Aptos, which it gets like a large investment, and it has, you know, a test net and incentivizes developer type of people, and also, you know, even people that are less technically inclined as a developer but still pretty technically inclined to participate in certain tasks. And then once it goes live, people can kind of just use it. And we saw for Aptos, for example, a lot of NFT projects like starting within the first week or two, whereas this particular network is much more curated to start, where the Futureverse core companies are the ones that are involved in everything that goes on, and there is no, you know, invitation yet for, you know, outsiders or developers to start operating on this network. But it is on a test net, and some people have noticed a series of transactions that have occurred that I've seen on Twitter, and maybe they're in other places, of actual transactions on the Explorer where we can see the team doing various tests. So things are happening. We're not privy to them to the extent that, unless it's on like publicly visible internet, we don't really know. But it is blockchain, so it is public to an extent, if you can figure out how to translate what's going on.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I lurk on the Silo GitHub because that seems to be perhaps the leakiest place I've been able to find in the public domain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for drawing our attention to that, Marco.
Yep.
Somnium sweating intensifies.
Somnium's on GitHub right now going, what the fuck has he found?
Nah, they've got, like, you can tell, like, they've got private repositories and stuff too, so they do a decent job, but there's alpha to be had there.
I think it's kind of cool though, you know, like I'm cool with people if they want to go digging and, you know, want to find some stuff that, you know, things like that, I guess, have at it. But yeah, definitely good to keep most of those things private.
Speaking of alpha, I found one particular investigation that I saw on Twitter a little bit interesting, which was people looking at traits for Buzzies that have been revealing, and some of them have been deserts that are like in real life, or words that are related to in real life deserts, but some have been deserts from like film franchises or game franchises, etc. So I found that speculation to be quite interesting. Marklar, did you by chance see that?
Yeah, I did. I think the first one that spun out was somebody noticed like a fairly obscure Star Wars outpost location. And then there was another one like today or yesterday where I think we caught some movies that are under the Warner Brothers umbrella. So that was interesting. The Star Wars one I think makes sense because I think Brooks from Welcome to Noir worked at Lucasfilms for a long time, and there's a strong connection investment by the team. So that relationship seems highly plausible given how close we are with Brooks. And then the Warner Brothers ones, make sense as well because they're the seed investor in ASM. So I tend to believe it, but you guys know me, I recklessly speculate, but this seems not so reckless.
It's interesting that it seems to me that the team has shifted from a strategy of leaking hints via like messages, like words and like text about whether it's in Discord or Twitter or speaking on a interview or a broadcast, and then it has shifted to, instead of doing that, to give clues through like the actual types of gameplay, like for example through thingy artwork or through the names potentially of traits or who knows what else. But it seems like quite a smart shift to me to take it from words, which I don't think is as fun or gamified as putting it in a part of the game.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I think it's a good way of them to manage expectations as well, because even though they're still like the traits are still words from the team, like the psychology of Captain saying something in Discord and us running with it versus like, okay, we're just looking way too much into trade names. Like it's a nice little buffer in there. I like the progression. That's a good observation.
What kind of traits are you guys talking about that imply that there's alpha? I'm just curious.
It's in the fur names, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, just to this is from Postman. Some of the fur names, one of them is Koros, which is from Ben 10. One is Arrakis, which is from Dune, and one is Karak, which is from Homeworld. All desert related references. And the original one was a Star Wars desert called Jakku.
Just want to say that Homeworld reference, that took me back a lot of years to the I think there's that image of the mothership lying in the desert, just kind of covered up by sand. But yeah, great couple of games there.
I wonder if we look at some of the other 4 types of Buzzies. So far we've only seen desert, but we can also expect undead, cosmic, irradiated, and cyber. And I wonder if we'll get more types of hints there. I also want to note that I would like to close this space in 12 minutes, an hour and a half into the space if possible. So if anyone has any last comments, or if someone's in the audience but wanted to jump on stage, now's the time. So does the crickets mean that maybe we should end it now, or Sam, do you have any? Oh, it's Top Cat. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Max. I just wanted to do a little shill, if that's okay. I've got the town square happening Sunday evening US time, Monday kind of early afternoon, 2 p.m. New Zealand time. This week we've got Brooke Howard-Smith, and hopefully I'm going to be able to crack Brooke into talking a little bit about what's been going on with the Futureverse Foundation, because I don't feel like we're really hearing much from what's going on there. And also Kyle Gordon, who's been doing some work with helping people use crypto whose fiat currencies have collapsed. So I think that's going to be a really interesting conversation. So yeah, encourage people to come along if you're interested in that sort of stuff. See you then.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have Pufferfish joining us. Do we have a top 5 for today?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I did. I didn't want to step on all the actual talk and try to butt in. And, my basement full of flooded refugees just finished the list. So they knocked on the door. I just got it. I'll read it if you guys are ready, if that's cool.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the exciting part of our show. We should recognize that a show that is devoted to pudding might not be the best show for us on a moving forward basis.
Oh, I really enjoyed that show. That was, I went out, I spent $300 on pudding.
I don't believe you.
Anyways, good evening, everybody. Tonight's segment is brought to you by TCU. Visit tcu.edu for more info. Use promo code PUFFER at checkout. Tonight, the top 5 lesser-known McDonald brothers. There's all these McDonald brothers like Lenny and Joey McDonald coming out the woodworks. These are the top 5 lesser-known McDonald brothers. Number 5, Kanye McDonald. Number 4, Crocodile McDon D. Number 3, Old Dirty McDonald. Number 2, the former General Secretary of the United Nations, Boutros McDonald. And the number 1 lesser-known McDonald brother. Hold on here. Odell McDonald Jr. That's my ride. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go.
A round of applause for our top 5 of the day, presented by Pufferfish and TCU University.
RIP.
I think on that note, I really am hungry and haven't had my dinner yet. So, thank you for everyone.
Wait, what are you having for dinner?
Oh, I'm gonna make some fried rice.
Okay.
Bulgogi fried rice.
Bulgogi or bulgogi?
It's pronounced bulgogi.
Oh, even though it's a B?
So, I don't want to get into the Korean language. I have been learning Korean for about 6 months now, 7 months. But we're not going to get into the way consonants are pronounced, but it's a little bit different.
Can I still call it bulgogi?
Well, I'm not going to say that's incorrect, but the common pronunciation is bulgogi. But moving on, thanks to everyone that joined. Big thank you to our guests for telling us all about the puzzles and the goblins, Captain KBD. Thanks to everyone that listened. Thanks to everyone that participated in any way, shape, or form. As always, the recording will be available as soon as this is shut down. Somnium, I'm not sure if you want to play us off with the song you played us in with. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Wait, you're going to have to give me like a little more time because I need to find a song.
I will buy some time so we can hear a great song to end it.
Okay.
Hey, Max, what pudding will you be consuming tonight?
I don't have any pudding, I'm sorry. I had pudding for lunch. I had a 3Q boba tea, which one of the Qs is a type of pudding.
Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and maybe consider watching one of my other videos. Bunnies up!